Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Friday, May 29th, 2026, TGIF. So glad to be back with you here on You Are Free TV. Thanks for tuning in. I'll just jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you. We have so much news to cover today. It's going to be a mix of geopolitics, but also, what's going on here with the dangers from within, the call coming from within the house that is, screwing us all over, and why we have American Revolution 250.0 that is so necessary right now. So I always start by saying thank you so much. Let me put on the glasses. We're going to be thanking so many awesome people who support this channel. I want to say thank you so much to Lana. Thank you so much. Linda, thanks for jumping in, joining monthly. Thanks for the donation. Thank you for Tom and Ginny and Margaret. All of these, it's the comments as well as the money. And thank you so much for supporting, because at this time it is helping so much. So I thank you. And at the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you about a special offer, which I want people to know about. And thanks everyone for supporting monthly. And I also want to thank my fantastic sponsor. And I keep plugging this, which is the MCT oil of c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off. I'm plugging the MCT oil lately because as I've been dealing with the Lyme and the alpha-gal, this has been coming in really strong and handy for how it's helping me, because I can't take the caps now because of the gelatin, to do with the alpha-gal. So I've been really relying on the MCT oil because it is that organic coconut oil. Plus it has, it only holds about 50% of what you get in the olive oil from C60 Evo, the best lab in the world making ESS 60, they call it, because it's so pure, of the carbon 60 molecule. And what I love about the MCT oil is it's antifungal, antimicrobial. So it is really helping me as I'm fighting all of the spirochetes and everything in my system in the flushing out. Plus, of course, people always say it's incredible for workouts before and after, for everything to do with inflammation, just in a great combo. So I'm plugging this, and I just want people let people know at the end of the video here, I'll be talking about another possibility. But as we reach the end of the month, I always ask people to remember that I don't have them here I don't have an open bottle here for you, but in this is the C60 caps. And this is the C60 Evo caps, which are featured on this channel. And every month I give away 2 bottles of this to people who donate to the channel. And I'm going to put it out there. I think you could also request to have the MCT oil instead if you desire. So anyway, moving ahead, thanks for letting me plug. It's important because my sponsor is fantastic and they keep the channel going too. So I want to jump in here with what's going on. And I think I'm going to start with the crash that happened in Virginia today, because it's so disturbing. And we're having, we're having, explosions across the USA happening in energy facilities, chemical facilities. There's just ongoing destruction going on that doesn't seem organic at all, seems definitely to do with sabotage. But when we look at today at what happened in Virginia with the awful crash, that was a Chinese national driving a bus, okay, that then caused a crash and a pileup where 5 people, 5 Americans, including children, were killed, 30 plus injured at the time that I'm doing this video. And this driver didn't speak any English, can't read the road signs, and this is an ongoing issue. And it's so awful. Anytime I drive on the highways, it's like taking your life in your hands, right? And aggression, huge aggression that I'm seeing when I'm out there with, when I look at the driver, usually not very American, we just know that so many drivers that don't speak English and aren't American are still on the roads of these big rigs of the semis. And it's a very scary feeling when you're out there. And so prayers galore, huge, huge prayers truly for the families of the deceased and the injured, and prayers for recoveries of the people who went through this accident in Virginia. And it's interesting because we're seeing Mark Wayne Mullen. He's the new DHS secretary. And, I'm not a giant fan, honestly. That's an aside for later. However, he's calling now after what's going on in New Jersey with the ICE facility, saying that, hey, we're going to have to pull off, the CBP. We're going to have to pull off the Border Patrol agents out of Customs and Border Patrol out of these blue airports, okay, where you're getting international flights for people to be able to come in. They're not going to be able to be vetted, because we need these people here to defend against this massive ICE attack here outside Newark, right, in New Jersey, where it's like almost Chaz, 2.0 set up there, and all kinds of violence going on. And I do support this because we had Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, come out and say, hey, yeah, we can't do this. We can't use this politics as far as our airports. We can't pull off Customs Border Patrol out of airports just because of politics, by state. That's crazy town. And I would put forth to Sean Duffy, and by the way, congratulations. I believe he has a new grandson today, which is fantastic, awesome. However, wrong. Our entire problem here is that we have had a systematic takeover of our transportation industry by illegals, purposely, by globalists in charge from the CEOs down of the airlines, and all of, whether it is DEI, to bring down the knowledge and capabilities of the people running the towers, or whether it is that we're having to deal with TSA of foreigners that we have to deal with. We know that what's going on in the Western world is this bringing in a replacement of our security systems, our police, our airports, our judiciary, to destroy and to denigrate and to demoralize the American population and Europe. And so I would say no, seeing as this has all been political, and our disgusting, awful Senate will not stay in session or allow there to be recess appointments, which is not a law. It's just a norm. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because I think I think that we should ignore the parliamentarian, and Trump should go ahead and do his recess appointments ASAP right now. This is not a law, just as the blue slips with the senators in these Democratic states should not be able to stop the incoming appointments of President Trump. Go full bore, okay? While we're dealing with the treasonous Thune, the acolyte of McConnell, and while we're dealing with our Senate problems, go full bore, okay? So maybe I don't even need to cover that. But basically, what I'm saying here about this is that we have politics all over our airports, and all over our air traffic control, all over what has totally decimated the ability to travel in this country and on our highways. Not to mention this Real ID thrown in there, where now citizens who don't want a full track and trace control system as their identification have to now pay more to actually fly, etc. This is all needs to be hugely contested. And so I would go against Sean Duffy's claiming that politics shouldn't be involved in our airports, when they 100% are. So sorry it took almost 10 minutes to get to this point, but that's what I wanted to say about it. So anyway, we have so much incredible stuff going on, but I'm going to focus in on something that I think that people need to take action on immediately, starting, in the beginning of the video here, that I want people to kind of check this out. And this has to do with the plan to basically make it pretty much mandatory. BlackRock, behind this, Vanguard, etc., and the AI bubble. Okay, the build out of AI, and this is connected to so many things I'm going to be talking about in this video, which is that they're putting through, and this comes out of the Vino mom. This is Tiffany Cianci, who does great work, where you can go to @the_Vino_mom on X, and her pinned comment will give you a link to take the action I'm about to say. And the action basically is to come in and put in comments before the end of Sunday night, where the comments close. This has been going on for about 2 months, of comments to do with this is what it's called, fiduciary duties in selecting designated investment alternatives. Okay, proposed rule by the Employee Benefits Security Administration. Okay, that's a long-winded name for saying they're trying to make it basically where it's going to be mandatory, where the AI rollout, okay, the bubble of creating all these AI data centers that do not have the market return, where all federal employees' pension funds will go into basically building out that infrastructure. We have Larry Fink coming out recently. He's the head of BlackRock, Cartel Babylon, basically saying, it just needs to be mandatory. Just needs to be mandatory that our pension funds are going to build out the AI, when they know that there is not the return on those funds. That whether it's the IPO of OpenAI, claiming their $1 trillion worth, those they can't be proven, okay, because AI becomes obsolete so fast that they know that as they build out these data centers, these are for surveillance purposes, for a crypto system, a track and trace controlled crypto system that is going to be used to use our energy, okay, as value in a social credit score system that they're planning for the future. And it's not going to be for some great new innovations that continue to come. These AI data centers will be obsolete as they are built. And Vino Mom does a great job, Tiffany Cianci, in doing this. So check her out. I'll link it below @Vino Mom on X. And she has pinned the link where you go and put in comments about that you do not want federal benefits for retirement pensions to be going directly to AI through, of course, massively BlackRock and Vanguard and these huge hedge funds that we want not to watch the collapse of people's pensions. And, it's squirrely because the federal government, their pensions, uh, you know, uh, SES and all of that. However, this is also coming to all of the pension funds, because if this gets put through where there's no objection, okay, and you do have to be a validated person, and then your comments are supposedly, but I think actually kept anonymous, that they need enough people, Americans who are validated, to come out and speak against this, so that they can prevent this from becoming the norm. As Larry Fink says, it must be compulsive, that they have to fund the AI construction that is leading to our own demise and leading to our energy, our electrons. It was so interesting. I watched a video of Larry Fink saying we need electrons. We need electrons, right? And the electrons are what gets stolen, right? Gets stolen as the mRNA shots or the biosensors, et cetera. They steal the electrons in our bodies, right? That's how they fuel themselves within us, the sensors. And I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be revisiting Sabrina Wallace, who I haven't talked about for a couple years because I just haven't gotten back there. But she's still out there doing the great work. I will link her great channel below about bioelectrical physiology, and how all of this to do with the biosensors is just about them activating within us at any time they want the things that cause our illness, right? And we saw with yesterday with Pam Bondi coming out about her um, thyroid cancer and how she had been diagnosed with this right after her firing from the DOJ. And then today, she was in the House committee hearing, right, closed door hearing, and Pam Bondi came out and said it was Blanche, right? It was Todd Blanche. He was the one who did all of the redactions, who limited the Epstein files being released further. She threw Todd Blanche under the bus, basically coming out and saying it was him. Very interesting, as she's had surgery for thyroid cancer. And again, this gets back to Gabbard, right? In the removal of all of the Havana syndrome files by the CIA at ODNI, and Gabbard's husband getting the rare bone cancer, thyroid and bone cancers being huge to do with Havana syndrome, right? And then, of course, Susie Wiles with the breast cancer, and we get into lymphoma and the lymph nodes and all of this, and how all of this is interconnected. However, Havana syndrome and directed energy weapons, yes, 100%, where they want to amp it up really high and hit you hard. But then there's the biosensors within the body through the smart dust, etc., that we're all inhaling through the spray, that they can do it all the time. So the thing is, we have to destroy the biosensor capabilities in our bodies, and I'll be getting into that in this video in a little bit. We have to destroy them if we're going to fight, and to understand that the AI build out, okay, of the centers, the data centers. We already know Elon Musk is going for his $10 trillion merger IPO of all of his companies, all 5 of them, for a $10 trillion worth, which isn't true, okay, but maybe more so than OpenAI or Anthropic. That basically, this push that we're going to pay for it, okay. When we hear of all the trillions coming in, the $18 trillion that Trump talks about, why are we paying for it? Why connect pension funds before they're built out? Why are we paying for it? Well, we know that Elon Musk has already said he wants to build those data centers that they need for the future in space, because they need super, super cold storage. They need super cold environment. And in space, they can get that in spades and easily. And that's the plan. We know that now they're building the habitat on the moon. That's happening now, and so much has already been happening. But basically, that's what we're seeing, is that the data centers here are for the crypto mining. Like in Texas, there's been a huge fight. I don't have the exact one in my mind. There's been some defeats where we've seen some AI data centers get halted from being built because of Trump's executive order saying that Chinese CCP parts can't be used in the construction of the data centers, and people have used that against them, which is fantastic. In Texas, though, we're talking about crypto mining. These are AI data centers for crypto mining. It gets back to, of course, Gates and his 060606 patent for a biological-based crypto, which is all about give us your electrons, right? And do everything we say with what Sabrina Wallace would call graphene-based healthcare, where you have to succumb if you want Social Security. Ooh, I got the picture taken right there. Back here, hello. If you want to succumb to your Social Security or your Medicare and Medicaid, you have to do what they tell you to do, okay? And it's, as Jesse Beltran says, who has been dealing with people with Havana syndrome and has the electronic surveillance of the sensors in the body, who does the Masterpiece project, and masterpiece.com. That's peace as in peace. Got the picture again. with the nano zeolite that has these sea minerals in it, okay, to try to apparently incredible success in getting rid of the biosensors and flushing out the graphene from the body. Well, what he's been saying is that um, we as we look at this, we're looking at a biological takeover of our ability to basically control our cognition, our ability to think clearly, to be able to have control over our biology and all of this. And so going forward, we're going to be talking some more about what Sabrina Wallace had to say. But I want to get into a few things first, and I'll be linking everything below. But I did talk the other day about Restore Britain, and I want to get back into this because we did have breaking news that um, today we had the organization called Raise the Colors out of Britain, right, who have been doing this situation of putting the Union Jack all over the UK and protesting the invasion takeover of Britain. And the one who founded this, Ryan Bridge, um, has been already facing harassment charges, all kinds of things, that yeah, as they're constantly attacked for going against the Islamification and the globalist takeover of the UK. Today we did have somebody who is a member, but the press is trying to put this out so hard that he's a co-founder, which he isn't. A man named Billy Allison got in a fight with a man who is a pub owner and businessman um, of a pub named The Plough, Matt O'Gara. Unfortunately, they got in a fight and Matt O'Gara died of his injuries, which I think came from like a direct punch. I don't know the details, and so I'm not claiming that. But this is in Lichfield, in the UK, and Matt O'Gara died. And now Billy Allison is being charged. She is not a co-founder of Raise the Colors in Britain. But now we have a judge, Avik Mukherjee, charging him with murder. And Ryan Bridge, as founder of Raise the Colors, of course, is getting a lot of heat because of this. And this is where I get into the situation around Restore Britain, where in my last video I had said, we have a problem here with Elon Musk pouring tons of money, because Elon Musk and his squirrely, now that he's going for his $10 trillion IPO, combining all of his companies together. Um, uh, let's just be clear about that for a second. Where we get XAI, Tesla, the Boring Group, and SpaceX, all becoming in charge of what is the rollout, of course, of an AI-controlled infrastructure, not to mention AI in general. And so he is funding Restore Britain, and that brings up uh, red flags for me, because he's a giant technocrat who is creating a robot army of humanoid robots. Okay, and these lethal autonomous weapons, they're not just coming to be your maids in your home. Hello, Nancy, the maid robot. No, no, no. Vacuum the floor. No. This is all military, massively. It's already being tested in the deserts of the USA. And these lethal autonomous weapons, as they're called, these laws, right? They feed on carbon. They're trained to take down insurgency, however that's defined in their programming. And they feed on carbon, and they have little boxes in them, okay, for entertainment purposes only, where they can feed any carbon-based organism into there. They could maybe choose some leaves from a tree. They could choose a rodent, or they could choose human flesh of the humans that they murder as they go along in a military uh, um, action. And literally, you know, when you think of War of the Worlds and the remake of the movie with Tom Cruise, et cetera, and there's like, you know, there's why is this all these tissue and blood everywhere, you know, of the humans in this movie? Um, you know, it's because they fed on it. And this is the thing with these humanoid robots is because they feed on carbon-based uh, living beings, you know, both vegetable and animal, they can feed in their little carbon box parts of us, right? And so, you know, we can't trust what Elon Musk is doing. I don't care what you say, you just can't. There's no trusting there. But that's an aside. As we still continue on with Restore Britain, what I wanted to say here, and when I mentioned, you know, a color revolution around it, is that it is this situation where you've had the Reform Party working for 10 years plus with Brexit, et cetera, to take away the power from the globalist regime of the Labour Party. And what's going on here with Andy Burnham in Manchester with this race is that Restore Britain, because it seems to be, and that's why I mentioned about the raise the colors and the mayhem that can occur. Okay, when there isn't clear leadership that isn't based in you know, a stimulus response type attitude. And unlike, you know, parties like in Germany with the you know, with the ADF and all of this, Alternative for Deutschland or AFD, excuse me, where they're dealing with sort of you know, a more nuanced and mature response, even though they're being slaughtered, you know, by the dozen. You know, we have this problem where in Britain with this Andy Burnham, for instance, who they want to be the next Labour leader, with this Musk money, and how that inflates the egos of the people in charge, Rupert Lowe being kind of a wild cannon here, is that we need to have the Reform candidate win, okay, in Manchester, and to take away three crucial points in this election is really important. Okay, that what I'm trying to say here is I'm hoping that Restore Britain could unite or have a coalition, not unite, have a coalition with the Reform Party, which Rupert Lowe left, okay, in order to start Restore Britain. And this is, you know, we get the Liz Truss situation here and the threat of the EU that we're going to Liz Truss you to all the other populist parties across Europe. We're going to do a huge, you know, bank bond run, forced bond run on your economies if you get these populist governments in, et cetera. We know all that's happening. But with the Restore Britain Party, we need to have a strategic um, uh, a strategic position here in how they get involved in the forward march in the Restore Britain power structure, so that Reform can actually get in and defeat. Keir Starmer just still won't leave, but defeat Labour, and then Restore Britain can gain ground and move from there. This is not me being saying, you know, saying, oh, it's bad to claim power. No, 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 it's really good. However, you don't want to sabotage um, the ability to have power by letting there be a Labor win coming up. So that's kind of all I'm saying. I really trust everything Frank Wright has to say. FrankWriter.substack.com. I'll link it below. But we just need to, you know, be aware, be strategic, have a coalition, okay, with Reform, and don't just one problem with the right with this fighting, okay, well, where you see with the left, they fight behind the scenes and then they coalesce together, and there needs to be you know, a both and here is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so moving on from there, I hope that, you know, clarified what people were asking about why I had said what I'd said about Restore Britain. Absolutely, they should push for Reform Party to absolutely have stronger deportation stance by Nigel Farage moving forward for the prime minister election. And they should absolutely push for that in forming these coalitions, in how they could strategically have there be elections of the right people at the right time in the right place. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and so as we move forward, I want to mention, as we're, of course, we have the what's going on here with the Iran, the Iran deal, okay, and it's all still in the works. It's all still, we're going to see what happens. But in the meantime, we have Rubio over in India this week. He met with what's called the Quad Critical Minerals Framework countries, which is USA, Japan, Australia, and India, making a deal to have the critical minerals, the rare earths, etc., all being united in their trade agreements. Okay, very important here. We know that Trump's core 5 countries involved in the what he considers to be the new framework of economic trade in the world, taking down the city of London in this Iran effort. What's going on with Iran is about Iran, but it is way bigger than Iran. It is about taking the city of London controlled down. And it is so important to understand that. So while we're looking at this, this is about getting the city of London out as the middleman. Remember, Trump keeps saying, we have to get rid of the middleman. We have to get rid of the middleman, whether he's talking about the insurance companies, which he came out recently again and said, we're going to get the middleman out of the insurance companies. We are taking them out. They've got 1,800% increase in the amount of money they're making when it comes to healthcare in the United States. Well, it's the same thing here with the City of London and their control of international trade. He's saying it is Russia, China, India, Japan, and the USA who are going to be at the center of international trade. And Xi is very, very afraid of Japan's military rebuild out, and of course their naval force, and how China is on the back burner here. We've got Ed Dowd coming out today, and of course Ed Dowd being fantastic for so many years now, the economist, who used to work for BlackRock, but he is out of Hawaii. He's been, talking about the shots for forever. He's been doing all the math, providing us great information. But what he had to say today is China is absolutely in the rearview mirror. They're collapsing. Their economy, GDP versus population, is totally collapsing. They know they don't have the upper hand anymore, and that the slave labor they offer isn't, that Trump is going to prevent the manufacturing, the dumping of goods, of cheap goods, to undermine USA manufacturing, is going to get higher and higher. So his resistance to it. So this is very important, and we keep watching that. And just a little aside before I go forward is Trump today issued another executive order regarding the Afrikaner population of South Africa, where he's capping, he's made the cap higher to 17.5 thousand Afrikaner refugees to be allowed into the United States. That's 10,000 more to come in to escape the demolition regime of South Africa and the destruction of what's happened with the murder and awful, horrendous rape and killing and stealing of the land of the Afrikaners in South Africa, who do all the farming. The infrastructure is collapsing in South Africa, and so 10,000 more coming in. And I would pray that President Trump would extend this to consider doing the same for Ireland and the UK. Other EU countries might be harder to do, considering it's the EU and they are run by a totalitarian regime. But let's start inviting the Irish and the British into the country, and they all want help to fix their countries. Well, they have to fix their countries, and so all we can do, and I hope that Trump does, is provide them some respite here in the USA for those who absolutely need to escape. which is getting higher by the day as the totalitarian laws and the planned migration invasion gets more and more violent and more intense, especially when it comes to the takeover of the judiciary and the legislature in those countries. So as we go forward, I want to move into this crazy story. It's not crazy at all, it's disgusting. And I'm going to cover it more tomorrow, actually. So I can talk about the Intrabody Nano network here before I leave today. So not tomorrow, but Monday. But I would just want to mention we have huge ritual abuse stuff coming out of Israel that has been going on for years. Interestingly, the ritual abuse networks being exposed in Israel started coming out right before the October 7th surprise happened. And huge to do with these huge settlement, people, Israelis, who were very much for the expansion of Israel and all the illegal settlements going through the West Bank, etc., and south of Jerusalem, and these situations with huge ritual abuse claims, to the point where we have Orit Struk, who is the minister of the national mission minister and settlements director. So the new settlements director. Her daughter has come out and said that she was ritually abused by both of her parents and her brother. And this actually was from a year ago, but more coming out just recently. And there's now a new TV documentary coming out about this. If you want to check it out, you can check out on X at David Sheen, But this gets into so much more when we talk about Cartel Babylon and really Frankism, what it means to create death and mayhem and sacrifice, and that touches into this October 7th situation. So I'm going to leave that now for now. I want to get into Peter Thiel moving to Argentina. I'm going to do all of that on Monday. Very interesting, as we're seeing J.D. Vance brought more to the domestic side and taken off of the international side, right? Yeah, okay. Oh, there's so much more I want to say, but I'm kind of winding down. I want to bring people's attention to the cyber biological interface, okay, that Sabrina Wallace talks about so much. And she is a fantastic reporter on from her experience in physics, etc., and her involvement in VIRAC's biolabs, where she's talking about that. We all focus on directed energy weapons and Havana syndrome and etc., and what Tulsi Gabbard is going to massively expose on her way out the door in the next 30 days, while we see Pam Bondi, thyroid cancer, Susie Wiles, breast cancer, bone cancer, all of these being the exact Havana syndrome type cancers that are done as the CIA went, raided the office, and took all of that information. Very important, very important. But what Sabrina Wallace is talking about, and while we're dealing with pathogens and we're dealing with, viral stuff, that all of this has to do with the 5G, and when the 6G comes, it's just forget it. But the 5G system with the nano body, the Intrabody nano network of what she calls the cyber biological interface, okay, introduced through the shots with the V, right? But also the smart dust, the sensors, the biosensors. And what we have here, what she talks about as the COVE W band, the Interbody Nano Network, this is the W band is the biological antenna network. I'll find it. But I'm linking her below. I want you to check her out. And I also want to say to her that she talks in her videos about, people can't pray this away. They can't pray their Wi-Fi to stop working or harming them. And I would agree that that's true in the sense that if you don't do anything or take action, to protect yourself against the G's, then you're in denial about how this is affecting you and how they can just change a frequency and shoot it towards you. What Jesse Beltran, calls being turned on, right, for different diseases, etc., cancers, etc. But she talks about how prayer and the Abrahamic religions, especially need to be, forgotten, in order to, she talks about humanists and atheists and all this. And that's where I would disagree in the sense of that when you look at the Heart Math Institute, and you look at their understanding of heart math and the heart as an electrical basically node, a circuit, a master circuit in the body, with our electricity, and how prayer actually creates an incredible resonance between hearts, but also in repairing the stasis of the heart to be operating in God's proper way. That's both and. It's a both and is what I would say, and I'm just kind of putting that out there. But when you look at Sabrina Wallace's work, what she's saying here is that we're dealing with, of course, this Intrabody nano network through the G's, that they can surveil 100% any one of us. We all do have a heart signature, okay, and then so much of our DNA on file that we can be found at any time individually, and that they can, of course, turn any frequency on that they want to activate the kind of disease or viral outbreaks in your body. And so I'm going to link that below, and I will get more into it on Monday of what she had to say about this, and bring people back to her if it's been a while, like me, that you haven't seen her, because it's very, very important information, and you can go through her videos and just have a look. Her channel is called Synergy, P-S-I-N-E-R-G-Y, Synergy SDW on YouTube, and I'll be linking it below, Sabrina Wallace. And it's a biofield takeover. And remember, I was talking about in my last couple of videos about our biofield and the bioshield, okay, is our melanin that protects us from EMF, and how glyphosate destroys your melanin and makes it much more accessible for and it's one of the reasons I like, the EVO and the ESS60 is because it is a radiation blocker. And so it's a radiation, it's being microwaved. Okay, you're being microwaved, but you're being accessed into, and glyphosate breaks down the barrier to resist it. And so that's why, again, I'll just put this up there, the Bacillus subtilis by Vitamatic. This microbe actually attacks and eats glyphosate, okay, as well as other toxins, but glyphosate is huge. So I want to put that up there. And we're going to be getting more into it. This fight against the AI data centers, even though they know they'll be obsolete, they also know that the crypto mining, okay, can continue to operate, and their surveillance system, okay, can continue to operate while Musk puts his data centers and all the quantum computing, they put them in deep space for the cold storage. We'll still be dealing with this infrastructure that they want us to build out with our taxpayer dollars, a huge bubble that will not have a return on proceeds, on capital, on growth, because it is designed to fail. We will still be connected to the patents that will connect to our biology, steal all our electrons, and then use our energy to make us basically pay to live, as Sabrina Wallace calls it. Pay to live. Do this. Do what we tell you to do with your wearables and your compliance with our technocracy or techno health industry, or else we hit you with the different frequencies, right? And this is all the up and coming situation that they're putting into place, and this electrophysiology capture that they're attempting. And so Anyway, we're going to talk more about all of this, right? Make sure you're on your central nervous system. So hard to do when the algorithm, the G's are surrounding us, okay? Our God-given central nervous system, our peripheral nervous system, in our skin, all of this helps to protect c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YFTV for 10% off, 15% anybody who ever donates to the channel. Um, that we need to disengage from the attacks upon us by the digital algorithm, okay, that is constantly in our brains, in our entrainment, in our devices, all of it. And you must take time out. You must ground yourself with shoes off on the ground, outside in nature, spend time in nature, so vital, and so many other things. And we'll be talking more of it as we go forward, but I wanted to bring that to you today. And I also wanted to close out just by saying, thank you so much for watching. If you found something valuable in this video and you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below, and it is so appreciated. Thank you so much in advance. And TGIF, thank God it's Friday, thank God I'm free. And I also want to let people know that in this box, of course, you know that sound, that is the capsules. And I have 3 of these boxes that as a fundraiser, as I'm doing my research on the alpha gal, etc., to make myself healthy, I'm doing a little fundraiser because I can't take the capsules anymore. I have 3 of these that I want to do a fundraiser with, where for $80, which is a huge half a price discount on the product, for $80, that includes shipping for 3 people who donate to the channel. The first ones who want to do this, that will include your shipping. That's about $12, so about 6 to 8 bucks a bottle. To who want them, you can grab them. Respond to your email or whatever for the people who support the channel. You'll be receiving that, and you can basically just let us know if you want to take advantage of that opportunity as a fundraiser. 80 bucks for the C60 Evo caps. Okay. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, that you get away from the devices, that you start to plan, how you can stop your local government from bringing in its AI center. This is so much to do with our C40 mayors, so much to do with the local governments and everything you can do there. Remember, states referendums, okay? You have the ability to bring a law, a referendum, okay, to try to enact a law in your state. Many states still have that on the books. Get active, precinct strategy USA, precinctprojectusa.org. We need so much towards the midterms, but also enjoy your weekend. Get out in nature, be with family, love them up and down, and thank God that we're free here in the USA as we approach the 250th year and this new revolution, which is about breaking away from the cartel Babylon, City of London control. So we are free. Thanks so much for watching. You are free, and I will see you Monday.